Did you enjoy your lunch? Okay, so today's theme is food safety, including pesticide. So the lunch you took, I cannot guarantee how safe it is, but we believe that it was safe. So let's move on to the next session. The second session for today is delivered by experts and related organizations. So we'd like to share their expertise. So first, the presentation will be delivered by Dr. Hyo-cheol Kim from the agriculture researcher from the Rural Development Administration. So it is not, there are not many experts about agriculture and pesticides at home and abroad. And for the past 15 years, he worked at the Agriculture Promotion Office. There are many risks and hazards surrounding agriculture, including pesticides, so we will hear from him about his experience. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Hyo-cheol Kim from the Rural Development Administration from the Department of Agriculture Engineering. So today I will cover, in fact, the theme may not fit 100%, but in regard to farmers and the farming and pesticide, I will focus on those areas. As for the purpose of my presentation is about how farmers are exposed to risks and hazards in agriculture, focusing on pesticide. And then the next presenter, Dr. Yoon-keun Lee, will talk about what improvement we can make. First, let me explain about the hazards about the farmers. So before that, how much occupational injury the farmers are suffering from. So if you look at the graph, so we have the workers' compensation insurance covering the occupational injury and disease, and it includes the industrial peoples. And then we have 30 or 40 farmers subscribe to them. And then if you look at the compensation paid by the insurance for the industrial people and the farmers. So the farmers, the blue bars represent the whole industry and the purple bars represent agriculture. And then if you look at the bars, you can see that agriculture is suffering from 3 or 4 times of the injuries compared to the whole overall industries. And if you look at the mortality rate of the people, so the farmers, they cannot have the insurance, but the government is providing the occupational injury insurance to farmers too. So a third of the farmers are subscribing to the insurance. I mean, around 800,000 farmers are subscribing to the insurance. So if you compare, so I do not have the information here, is that out of 100 farmers, 5.5 people are benefiting from the insurance. And based on the WCI, if you look at the mortality rate, per year, 250 farmers are suffering from the injuries or diseases and pass away. So if you say that all the workers in Korea, they are 20 million, a fourth are passing away because of the hazards in agriculture. It's a very big number. It's very big compared to general industries. So it's triple the general industries. And if you compare that number with other countries, the number is 8 times of that of EU. So what concerns me is that Southeast Asia and South Asia, the rate of fatality from the hazards in agriculture will be similar to that of Korea. I don't know the exact number, but I guess that much. And then in Korea, we have modernization of the agriculture machinery, and it contributes to the reduction of the mortality in Korea too. So let us talk about the occupational hazards in agriculture. So if you look at farmers, they suffer the respiratory disease or the loss of noise-induced hearing loss or skin disorders, certain cancers and chemical toxicity, and heart-related illnesses. And these are the disease suffered by the U.S. farmers, for example. And in Korea, the farmers, they crunch, and then the people, they have the wrong posture while working. And also, the pesticide poisoning is also another health occupational diseases in Korea. And let me explain about this with photos. So because of sometimes the people in agriculture, they have the hunched back because of their wrong posture, and they have also the skin disorders. And so this photo shows spraying pesticides, and one of my relatives has worked like this. They just sprayed pesticides with hands, and then the self-employed farmers, they do spraying pesticides themselves and be poisoned by pesticides. And also the tobacco farmers, there are a less number of those, but they are exposed to nicotine, and during the selection process, they are exposed to many chemicals and also ultraviolet rays, and they also have back pains, and they are driving the machines and using machines, and they are exposed to many hazardous gases. And after harvest, this is the storage room. And in Korea, in ginger storage room, one person has died because of the poisoning of the ginger gas from gingers. So we'd like to have the very sustainable and safe farming environment so that people like this can smile while working. But this is far from reality because they have to raise their hands above their shoulders. So while they are doing that all day, they can have the skeletal diseases, and then they are suffering from heat diseases, and they have falls. So what I'm trying to get at is, if you think about farms and agriculture, just don't think about sustainable environment, but also you need to think about the farmers, the people working in that environment as well. So for the past 20 years, I have seen those scenes myself. So if I can share my experience, I don't think much about the environment, because if you look at some people falling just in front of your eyes, you immediately think about people first rather than environment. The environment seems far away, but people, they are those who are with us. So I think as for the pesticides poisoning, so we have 5 agriculture health centers in Korea. In universities and hospitals. So the experts are working there, and for 1,386 farmers, we did the survey on them, how much they are exposed to pesticides. So if you look at the result, 17.3% of the male respondents, they say that they experienced the pesticide poisoning. So it's a very striking number to us. And so 18.4% for greenhouse, and the orchard 10.5%. And then the rice field, it does not use pesticides much. So the rate is 6.4%. And then pesticide poisoning symptoms is shown when you do not have protective gears. And then if the orchard is bigger, the higher the poisoning gets. So this is the result of the survey we did from 2014 to 2018. So how people are exposed to pesticides? So in Korea, if you look at how people spray pesticides in Korea, we use speed sprayer. It is often used in orchards. So it is very fast and automatic, and people get the shower of pesticides in the process. And then if there's a cabin in the speed sprayer, it doesn't happen. But the cabin incurs cost. So the farmers, they buy speed sprayers without cabin because of the cost. And also they use hand sprayers. It is connected with engine, so it's hand work by farmers. And another way is to use the hand sprayer or use drone. So in Europe, it's very rare to use drone for pesticide spraying. So usually the US, Japan, and Korea are using pesticide spraying with drone. This is the reality in Korea, and also hand sprayers are used. So it's a backpack type, and except for drone, the three ways of spraying the pesticides, I mean speed sprayers, hand sprayers, and backpack sprayers are the cases where the pesticides are affecting farmers. Also, while diluting the pesticides, a lot of pesticides are leaking out. So because the pesticides is expensive, so to try not to have any leak, the people are use the naked hands. So the exposure of left hand and right hand is different. And then left hand exposure is 10 times of right hand exposure. So it is a huge amount of exposure to pesticide. And another thing about the environment is that Southeast Asia or South Asia would be similar because we are all Asian countries. Because in Asia, usually the density of plants is very high, like developing countries, and also the high temperature and humidity is another characteristic of pesticide spraying. And then we use greenhouses a lot. And then the confined species is the characteristic of the greenhouses. And also there is physiochemical characteristics of pesticide. So one of them is low vapor pressure and surfactants. So we did the measurement of the pesticide exposed. So we used the patches across the body. What we've confirmed is that, so we did this study to develop the protective gear, and whether it is outdoor plants or greenhouse plants, a lot of pesticides are exposed around legs. So people rarely wear protective gear at summertime because of the heat, but we definitely try to have the protective gear for legs. And I myself, I experienced spraying pesticides wearing protective gear, but I couldn't stand like for 20 minutes because it was too hot to wear that protective gear. So I made sure that the farmers would wear the trousers at least. And so, and then while spraying the pesticides, we recommend the farmers to walk backwards rather than forwards. So I speed it up. And let's move on to safe pesticide. Many experts often say for the safety of consumers and the public, and for them, less the pesticide is more health. But I think pesticides is the evil that we cannot live without, because without pesticide, the farmers cannot have good harvest. So it's a necessary evil for the farmers. So we need to have pesticides as after all, because it would reduce the workload for the farmers and better crops. So between consumers and farmers, we'd like to highlight the severity of pesticide poisoning based on scientific evidence, and we want the consumers to understand the path of pesticide exposure, which is similar among Asian countries. And I also educate farmers to have safer procedure of dilution or spraying work. And I also recommend wearing of protective gear. In Vietnam, so the Vietnam people, they surveyed the use of protective gear for farmers. So the highest number of respondents, they say that they use medical masks for spraying. And medical masks, physiochemically, the pesticides stick to the medical masks, and then the masks are getting wet. So it's not recommendable. So it's better to wear the industrial mask rather than medical masks. So I hope that you can spread the information in your country too. And this slide shows the gist of my presentation. So a couple of months ago, there was an accident in the bakery company in Korea, and one person lost her life while working on the mixing of the ingredients. So there were people who say that we do not eat the bloody bread. And also I know the same accident, one person from the agriculture he lost his life while mixing the soil, but it didn't attract much interest among the society. I think that the interest of the society is different because people, even in Korea, we do not have pay attention to the agricultural people rather than the industrial people. So I think that the most important value with the pesticide in agriculture is stable food production, sustainable environment, and more information or more interest in highly toxic pesticide. That's the way we can save the lives of agricultural people. I mean that 18 out of 100 are suffering from pesticide poisoning. I think things are not different in Asian countries. So this wraps up my presentation, and I hope you can have more interest in the safe use of pesticide and then health of farmers going forward. So not only the pesticides residue, but spraying pesticide should become our concern too. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we do not have much of the statistics on agricultural disasters or injuries, and then MSD, which is muscular skeletal diseases, is one of the suffering of the farmers. And then he mentioned drone for pesticide spraying, and so I know that some of the Asian countries are testing the spraying of pesticides with drones, and I'd like to hear the result someday. And next presentation is about how to improve pesticides poisoning prevention system in Korea. And this is Dr. Lee from our WIOEH.
The pesticide prevention policy of Korea, what are the issues and future directions for it to evolve? So that's my topic. I'm very sorry, but what I'm talking here today is a sprayer of pesticides. Policies from the perspective of the farmers, whereas consumers who consume the pesticide spray agricultural produce, we're not talking from the viewpoint of consumers, because it's difficult for these two policies to go hand in hand. So today I'm going talking about this topic from the perspective of the farmer, the sprayer of these pesticides. I wanted to clarify that first. So what are some of the issues? Let's take a look. First, the pesticides in Korea, in Southeast Asia, other countries in Asia, I think it's probably the same. The biggest problem in pesticide policy is that a lot of these policies are actually friendly to pesticides. Well, maybe inevitable in a capitalistic society, but they are quite pesticide friendly. Let's have a quiz. Is this a pesticide or not? Not sure? How about this one? 3-prong fork. This one has a fruit design. How about this one? This is a pancake, right? Making bread ingredient. Looks like a bread ingredient. So, children without any information about pesticides or elderly citizens, they may think this is actually a fruit juice. Is it possible that they will drink this bottle? Yes, it is possible, and that sometimes happens in Korea. So this looks like a baking ingredient. When you bake a bread, if you don't have enough wheat flour, you may mix it in your dough. This also happened in Korea, actually. So why do you want to design the pesticide packaging like this? Pesticides are poisons, toxins. Why do they look so friendly? Because the policy is from the perspective of the producers of these pesticides. Now, what about the consumers? they will feel less aversion towards pesticides. They may feel that, oh, pesticides are okay. And in Korea nowadays, they're now using the new term called crop protector, crop protecting chemicals. And the legal term may be changed with this new terminology in the future. That's also possible. Is this right? Well, I think this is not just unique to Korea, but the same around the world. So, pesticide-friendly policy, that's the first thing we need to change. I think that's the biggest issue. And secondly, the volume of pesticide use is increasing. This is the pesticide usage in Korea per hectare. 11 kg is used per year. Is this a large volume or small volume? Extremely large volume, 4 times of world average. Southeast Asia, some of you mentioned the use volume. We are much bigger than that. Why do we have to use so much pesticides? I think 2 reasons. Because of the pesticide-friendly policy, people don't feel reluctant. That's one reason. And second is, pesticide use objective is to promote agricultural food production. That's why people are not reluctant to use so much pesticides. Another quiz. What scene is this? What's happening here? Just for your information, who do you think took this photo? Dr. Kim Won, who is sitting here. It's his photo from 15 years ago. Him and I were doing pesticide surveys in the field, and we were surprised and took this photo. They're spraying the pesticide here. It's not a fire. From far away, you would think that there's a fire in the mountain, but this is a pesticide spraying. Same in this picture. So much pesticide volume is being used in Korea. Secondly, not just the pesticide-friendly policies, but the wearing rate of pesticide PPE, personal protective equipment, is very low. On average, 30 to 40%. Glove, 36%, and boots, waterproof boots, relatively better, about 62%. Respiratory mask. This is not medical mask, but pesticide mask. Still not widely used. We looked at the high usage volume in Korea, so this is based on 2019. Worldwide, the spray volume of pesticide per hectare is about 2.5 kg worldwide. What was the number in Korea? It's 10 kg. So on the global level, we are 4 times higher than the global average, especially in Asia and Latin American area. The usage is higher. And Korea's number is actually much, much higher than many of these regions. Thirdly, about pesticide poisoning survey, and the outcome is very underestimated. So mild poisoning, 12.2%. Well, you may think this is high or low, different from person to person, but according to recent statistics, annually worldwide, pesticide poisoning is happening to about 860 million people worldwide, about 40% of farmers. In Korea, it's only 12%. Well, you can think of it from two ways. First is because people are wearing PPEs, you have less poisoning. The second possibility is, although the number of pesticide poisoning is very high, they are not detected in surveys. Either one of the reasons. But as I said, the pesticide spray volume is 4 times than the world average. That means the pesticide poisoning is about 44% worldwide. But spray volume is 4 times the world average. So pesticide poisoning is underestimated in Korea, as you can see. So this picture is from about 10 years ago. This is not current situation, but so these pesticides are left unattended everywhere. Two things. So used half bottles are left unattended everywhere, causing secondary contamination, causing contamination of soil and water. And these are stored just anywhere, not in a designated place. So this can also be a cause of poisoning accidents, which happens quite frequently. So from an expert perspective, we have to look into the future and we have to make the policy sustainable. What is the most important, at least in Korea, is unfortunately in Korea, pesticide regulation policies and pesticide management control policies. When you import or manufacture pesticide, you have to have them registered. So the regulation and registration policies are managed by the single government agency, the same government agency, which I cannot understand. This is a serious issue. People who should ask people not to do something, regulators, are also encouraging the use at the same time. So who wins? So do we side with the farmers or do we side with the consumers? This agency. So for sure, as long as our policies are going in this direction, our positive health issues related to pesticides will not be solved. They need to be separated. That's what the U.S. is doing, right? So who is the pesticide regulator? EPA in the U.S. But in Korea, the agency that registers these pesticides are also the one that regulates them. Impossible, should not be this way. These two policies should be separated from each other. So the regulation, exposure criteria, all this should be handled by the Ministry of Environment, and registration and farmer training, and that should be handled by other relevant ministry. I think this is a serious issue in Korea. Well, I don't know, NGOs from Asia, other Southeast Asian countries, I don't know what your countries are doing, but this is something that we should change urgently in Korea. So let's take a look. So personal protective equipment, we have to make sure people wear it more. So I thought about this. How many pesticide training I have conducted? About 150 times so far I have conducted in rural villages. Every time I do this training and education, this is how I feel. How come these farmers are not interested? Not interested at all. My conclusion is that the farmers, the toxicity of the pesticides in their minds, for my whole life, for 30, 40 years, I've been spraying pesticides, but I've never seen anyone who died of pesticide poisoning. I've seen people who kill themselves by drinking pesticides, but pesticide poisoning causing disease in someone, I've never seen that. So chronic long-term poisoning concept is lost. So people spray pesticides and they lost their consciousness and be transported to hospital. That's what people think. So however, how much I emphasize the importance of wearing PPE, the farmers just don't accept this concept. So how to change this? This is a big homework for me. And when I say this, you may change your thinking because the skin exposure of pesticide by different parts. So we've seen different data before. So lower body, upper body, the total skin exposure amount is 95% of the exposure happens through skin exposure. But farmers only think about this. If they keep their masks, as long as they wear a mask and keep out the aerosol pesticides, they'll be okay, which is totally wrong. So when they hear this story, they actually change their mind. So that's why they have to wear PPE, because they have to wear good quality goggles and boots. So when I say this after giving them this information, they react differently. So what we need to emphasize different aspect when conversation about pesticides. And when they wear PPE, they are doing it wrong. So this person is wearing pants. At the end of the pants should be tucked into the boot or not? Which is better? No, the edge of the pants should be outside the boots, not tucked in. So some people actually tuck in the pants into the boots. What happens? Then the pesticides in liquid form will run down into the boot. And this is a waterproof glove. So a lot of people wear cotton plain gloves or masks, or wear medical masks. They still think that they're wearing mask properly, but they wear mask and keep spraying the pesticides. These masks will get wet, and by the time they finish their work, the pesticide will continuously be absorbed into the skin. According to study, the 5 to 15% of the pesticide on the skin will be absorbed into the human body. So PPEs, we need to have and convey the very accurate information about PPEs. Thirdly, the storing the pesticides. They should be stored in a separate cabinet, which should be locked with a key. And the empty pesticide bottle should be stored in a separate collection box. Well, pesticides are associated with suicides, right? These are suicides in Korea. 13,000 people commit suicide in Korea per year. So starting from 2016 until recently, the suicide rate is going up. At the bottom are suicides by pesticide poisoning. From 1,000, now there's a dramatic decline down to about 600. Why is that? Because the answer lies in the pesticide storing cabinet. So we actually had a policy to spread this cabinet. With this Dr. Kim, we've been doing this campaign for about 15 years now. So I think it's an impact from that campaign. So someone may think that they want to kill themselves by drinking pesticide, but if they cannot find and see a pesticide around, they may change their mind. A lot of psychologists, research also found the same thing. So keeping the pesticide outside is very important. So spreading, distributing the storage cabinet is very important. And lastly, the spraying equipment, if they are modernized, for the sprayer, the poisoning can be prevented. And there's a dilemma. If you make spraying more convenient, using the machine, for instance, so if we have that kind of policy, then this is a double-edged sword. The sprayer of the pesticide will be much more safe. But then spraying become easier. That means more volume of pesticides will be sprayed. You normally spray once, but now it's so easy. It is sprayed twice or 3 times a day. That's a higher risk for the consumers. How to control this risk? So this is one of the homework for us. Lastly, we have to give a strong signal about with these warning signs. Thank you very much. Well, one of the questions I had as I listened to this presentation is pesticides are now called PPP, plant protection product, plant protection products. I guess I don't think the plants have been asking to be rescued from pests, but anyhow, this arrow is now coming back to us humans. How to name it and how the names are defined. That's also related to how to define the risk associated with it. So I think naming is also very important.
Next presentation. When we have the conference like this, the people from the government are reluctant to come here because they can have a chance to have many more requests from people, but we took the chance and invited one person from the government. And we have the Deputy Director Park Chi-hyung from the Ministry of Agriculture, Foods and Rural Affairs. So he will talk about what efforts the government had done for the agriculture and PPP. He prepared a lot of materials, and so when we visited CAP did a lot of surveys and researches on pesticide, and in Korea they wanted to know what's happening at the level of the government in Korea. So he was the person who provided the information from the government side. So let's welcome him. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Deputy Director Park Ji-hyung from the Ministry of Agriculture, Foods and Rural Affairs. And I will talk about the policy of environment-friendly agriculture in Korea. In Korea, we have the legal framework for the environmentally friendly agriculture policy. And let me explain the definition and purpose, current status, and major policies for agriculture in Korea. So this is the table of my presentation. So the environment-friendly agriculture, what does that mean? And the current situation in Korea, followed by major policies in Korea. First, definition and purpose. The environment-friendly agriculture is defined like this, based on Environment-Friendly Agriculture Act. So it defines as industry which produces agricultural products in a healthy environment in which chemical substances such as synthetic pesticides, chemical fertilizers are not used or used in a minimum quantity to promote biodiversity, facilitate the biological cycling and activities in the soil, and conserve agricultural ecosystems in a healthy condition. This relates to the theme of discussions today, which is about the safe farming and safe agriculture. And so the definition is set out in the Environment-Friendly Agriculture Act. And enviro-friendly agriculture is defined at two levels. One is about organic and the other is about non-pesticide. There are two categories. So by definition, it is a product cultivated without chemical fertilizer and synthetic pesticide. I mean, in a natural manner. So we have agri product and livestock product. So as opposed to agri product, we also have a livestock product. And also for agri product, the cultivation should be done in the natural manner. And as for livestock product, it should be fed with organically grown crops and meet animal welfare standards. And as for next category, which is non-pesticide, which is unique to Korea only because of many problems with pesticide. In this case, the chemical fertilizer can be used like 60 or 70%, but no pesticide is allowed here. So these are two different certifications for agricultural product in Korea. So these are the marks given to those different types of products, as you see on the right hand. And next is about the purpose of enviro-friendly agriculture. It is aligned with the definition of enviro-friendly agriculture. So the purpose is to increase the environmental conservation role of agriculture, reducing environmental pollution caused by agriculture, and fostering farmers who engage in environment-friendly practices, as well as to manage environment-friendly agricultural products, thereby protecting producers and consumers all together. So let's move on to the current status of environment-friendly agriculture in Korea. Enviro-friendly agriculture, by that I mean that the organic or non-pesticide categories and its comparison between 2018 to 2020. So in 2018, 57,000 farms have increased to 59,000. And then enviro-friendly took up 4.9% in 2018 to 5.2% in 2020. But now it has slightly declined to 4.9% now. For the past 5 years, the portion of the enviro-friendly used to be 5% of all the farming houses. Next is about the distribution of enviro-friendly products. So these products follow different distribution channels compared to other general products. So in Korea, so the first starting point is the producer organization. So the production is done by the local agriculture co-op, and that takes up more than 10%. And other general agricultural products are distributed mostly about large-scale distributors or wholesalers. But for enviro-friendly products, the distribution channel is a little bit different. And the end customer is consumers in Korea. 39% is going to schools for free lunches and to supermarkets and agriculture co-op markets. So that take up 24%. And also consumer co-ops are one of the big distribution channel, which is 9%. So compared to general products, which are distributed through superstores, the enviro-friendly products are going through the schools and co-ops. The reason is that the enviro-friendly products are received as very healthy food. So the products are mostly used by schools, which have big focus on school children's health, and the consumers who are seeking after healthy food. And consumer co-ops are one of the channels. So to foster the environment-friendly agriculture, we have many policies in Korea. As for long-term targets and pillars, now we have fifth five-year master plan for environment-friendly agriculture, which covers from 2021 to 2025. And underneath, we have three targets. One is to enhance the environment value. I mean, the environment-friendly product is received as a healthy food, so that is the perception of the consumers. So if you look at the survey, 90% of the consumers think that environment-friendly products are very healthy food, but 27% of the consumers buy these products because they are helping our environment. And Korea, we have a higher interest in environment compared to the EU countries. So consumers in Korea, they use and they buy enviro-friendly agriculture because of contribution to the environment. So our policies are geared toward that direction. So we'd like to enhance the perception of the enviro-friendly agriculture as a contribution to environment, like 90%. And the second pillar is the certification. So we'd like to increase the certification rate much higher. And the third is to reduce the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. And as you heard in the previous presentations, Korea is one of the countries who use pesticides a lot because we grow a lot of crops in a very dense area. So we need to increase the harvest. So we use a lot of pesticides. So we'd like to reduce the pesticides by 10% or 15%. Also, the chemical fertilizers we'd like to reduce by 10% at least. That's our target. And so our policy pillars are mainly promotion of sales, build basis for stable production, and agri-environment management. So more specifically, if you look at the first pillar, which is the promotion of sales, so it's about increasing the consumption of enviro-friendly agriculture. So the big channels are schools and co-ops. So it's a small number of channels. So general consumers do not have easy access to or convenient access to the environment-friendly agriculture. So we'd like to increase the consumption by increasing the number of channels for those products. And at the same time, we want to increase consumption by increase the consumer awareness, or we also would like to focus on processing or using restaurants for the consumption or target overseas market. So as for the example, for the consumers to experience the enviro-friendly agriculture, we are constructing organic services complex. So for each site, we provide a subsidy of 18 billion Korean won for 4 years. So we already have one site and 6 is under construction, and we will have a total of 12 such sites by 2030, so that through the complex we can sell environment-friendly products or consume or share the value of that product among consumers. And also, last year, at the peak of COVID-19, the environment-friendly agricultural product is mostly used by schools, but schools were shut down, so the sales were devastated. So last year there was a promotion to reduce the product price like 20% for to make the environment-friendly products appealing to the consumers. And next one is to build the basis for stable production. In Korea, we have small-sized farms, and the environment-friendly agriculture farmhouses are small, and they are adjacent with the general farms. So the pesticides used in general farms are flying to the environment-friendly farms. So we want to build the concentrated environment-friendly farm district so that they are getting together to have common shared marketing channels and marketing promotions. And also, we provide education for farmers on organic cultivation or R&D for natural ingredients. And one of the policies is to provide enviro-friendly direct payment. The purpose is to subsidize income loss of enviro-friendly farmers. And this direct payment system is often found in many other countries. So the recipients are certified organic farmers and non-pesticide farmers. And we also categorize the land types in 3 categories. So the organic land, the productivity is lower than other 2 categories. So we provide much more subsidy for that category. And also orchard and other paddies or dried paddies are not productive as much as rice paddies, so provide more subsidies to orchard and others. And then we provide the subsidies for 3 years for non-pesticide and 5 years for organic. After 5 years, organic farmers are paid with organic continuation payment rate. And third pillar of our policies is agri-environment management. And basically, the focus is to use proper amount of fertilizers and pesticide and activate circular agriculture. And also, we are building agri-environment information system and local level agri-environment management activities. So as for examples, we enforce agri-environment conservation program. The purpose is provide payment to rural community members for their activities such as biodiversity protection, soil water management, and carbon reduction. And the recipients can receive a budget of 650 million Korean won one per village. And this is provided for 5 years. And then we have different processes. Year 1 is for diagnosing and establishing plan and learn the program. And year 2 to 5 is for conduct of environmental activity, reporting of the result. And the circular agriculture is one of the purposes, and also we restrict the pesticides use, or we do the activities for soil management, water management, and landscape management, and waste management. We also do eco-friendly system activities. So these are the policies that we are doing these days, and this wraps up my presentation. Thank you very much.